get some coffee, put the microphone on, crank it up, get some coffee, and calm down. Calm down. But this is a insane request. Calm down. This is an insane. Are you serious? An insane request, or not even a request, a voted resolution by the European Union. And they're setting the stage, folks. What these guys are setting the stage is a confrontation with Israel in the Holy Land. I'm Pastor Paul Begley, and this is a prophecy alert. Let me put a shout out right now for noblegoldinvestment.com. That's www.noblegoldinvestment.com. $2,000, that's where gold is headed. The growth will continue through 2023 with gold prices remaining elevated at an average price of $2,086 an ounce. All of this is expected according to the Bank of America. And it looks like they're right, because at the beginning of December, gold went over $1,800 an ounce, and it's still climbing. If this year has taught us anything, it's that tangible assets are the only assets you can count on. Gold. It's time to open a gold IRA. Save your retirement funds for the future. Roll over that 401k while you still can before it gets any worse. Today, the Feds just raised the interest rates again, another 0.5%. So the market immediately reacted by falling. Crypto stocks are tanking. The FTX scandal is got everybody on edge. The only stable currency at all, or asset at all right now, is gold. Go to www.noblegoldinvestment.com. That's noblegoldinvestments.com, or pick up the phone and call them at 877-646-5347. That's 877-646-5347, and tell them that Pastor Paul Begley sent you there. All right, click on the link below right on this on this video. All right, now here's the deal, guys. Seriously, here is the deal. We got a prophecy alert. It's a stunning realization, but I mean, I was already stunned. I really was. I was already stunned with the European Union. I shouldn't have been, but when they passed a resolution last month by a vote of 154-9 that they're going to hold a peace summit in, of all places, Moscow, during the middle of right in the middle of this Russian-Ukraine war. Everybody's going to go to Moscow to solve the Israeli-Palestinian question. And they're saying not only solve it, but solve it by going to the pre-1967 borders. In other words, forcing a two-state solution on Israel and dividing the land, dividing the Holy Land, okay? Crazy analogy or even a resolution. But the European Union now gets in the act. And here's what they're doing. Unbelievable. You know, the Bible tells you, don't part the land. Don't part the land. God said, don't part the land in the book of Joel, chapter 3. But anyway, here's what breaking news just now coming out of Israel and also coming out of the European Union parliamentary meeting. The European Parliamentary Union, the European Union's parliamentarians affirmed today that they gave their unwavering support for a negotiated two-state solution on the basis of the 1967 borders. What? They said the incoming Israeli government under Benjamin Netanyahu must affirm its support for a two-state resolution to the Israeli-Palestinian conflict. The European Union Parliament said in a wide-ranging resolution it approved in Strasbourg today that called for Europeans to lead the peace process. In other words, Emmanuel Macron, you'll see, it'll be him. The resolution was asked, they're saying to the next Israeli government to make a clear commitment in favor of a two-state solution. The European Union parliamentarians affirmed that they gave their unwavering support for this negotiated, although it don't sound very negotiated, it sounds mandated, a negotiated two-state solution on the basis of the 1967 borders. This includes the resolution stated, quote, two sovereign democratic states living side by side in peace and guaranteed security. Peace and security. Well, where'd we read that in the Bible? The Bible says when they say peace and safety, then sudden destruction cometh. But anyway, this was what the resolution said. Two sovereign democratic states living side by side in peace and guaranteed security, with Jerusalem as the capital of both states in full respect of international law. In other words, this is going to be our international law. Israel, you're not determining your own borders. Israel, you're not even determining your own city of Jerusalem. You need to do what we tell you to do, according to the European Union. This is the first time, folks, since 2017 that the European Parliament has approved any resolution which had a mix of positives and negative elements for Israel. I'm still trying to find the positive ones. The resolution called for a resumption of Israeli-Palestinian peace talks after a nearly 9-year freeze through a European-led initiative beginning with an international conference. To this end, it said the European Union-Israeli ties should be strengthened. As such, the Parliament welcomed the resumption this year of the EU-Israeli Association Council meetings that have been frozen for the last decade. So they're saying to Netanyahu, if you agree to affirm that we need to move forward with this, we'll let you back in to become part of this EU-Israeli Association and start working together. The United States, which has been the primary broker of past peace processes, has not put forward any peace initiatives under U.S. President Joe Biden since he entered office. In other words, Biden hasn't done a thing. He has sent this to the UN. He is saying, United Nations, you guys do it. We'll back it, no doubt. He's just laying low, and he just gave the ball. You know, President Trump tried his best to bring the entire Middle East to an agreement, and he even got 5 nations to sign on to the Abraham Accords, but that don't matter. The European Union member states were asked in the resolution to galvanize relevant regional Arab countries to explore how normalization with Israel could assist this two-state process and improve the region's economy. So in other words, they're going to try to get the entire Middle East on board to put pressure on Netanyahu as well. So you got the UN putting pressure on him. You got the EU putting pressure on him. And they're going to try to get the Arab nations to put pressure on him. And the pressure is he has to carve up the land. He has to divide the land. That's what they're calling for. Guys, then the MEP, Bert-Jan Rusin of the European Conservatives and the Reformist ECR group, who opposes this, said, quote, it is not for the European Union to dictate to the Israelis and the Palestinians the outcome of their necessary peace negotiations. The outcome does not necessarily have to be a two-state solution. Instead, the European Union should focus on fostering an environment where space for conversation is once again created. But we shouldn't be trying to mandate a sovereign nation like Israel and force them to part their land. Now, the MEP Billy Keller of the renewed European group tweeted in support of the resolution. He said, the two-state solution for Palestine and Israel, he added, the illegal invasion of Palestine must end. He's talking about Israel. And that Israel must not be attacked by terrorists. In other words, that's a threat. Do it or you will be attacked. That's what I'm reading between these lines. But the resolution called for accountability for those who have violated international humanitarian law and expressed its support for the involvement of the International Criminal Court in the conflict. It upheld the need for policies that differentiated trade with the Israeli entities inside a pre-1967 border and those situated over the Green Line. Settlement activity and the Israeli demolition of Palestinian structures must end. The resolution stated, adding that the Palestinian elections must be held, including in East Jerusalem. The resolution also called for an end to both Palestinian terrorist attacks and disproportionate IDF use of force, and it condemned settler violence. The parliament in the resolution recognized Israel's right to exist. Well, that's nice, since they've been there since Abraham's day. It's legitimate, they said, that security concerns and its full right to fight against the acts of violence and it protect its citizens. A few parliamentarians, and I was wrong by saying since Abraham's day. God promised it to Abraham, and he walked the land there. And God said, everywhere your foot is, it's going to be your land. But it was the Israelis that finally moved into the promised land by the hand of Joshua, as we all know, over 3,000 years ago. They've been there all this time. And due to the work of the group of the European People's Party, the resolution in support of the UN Relief and Works Agency for Palestinian Refugees called for the suspension of EU funding to that body if there was clear and substantiated evidence of hatred, incitement, and anti-Semitism in the textbook use in its schools. And so now we're getting in the weeds, okay? Now we're getting in the weeds. Yair Lapid, the former Israeli prime minister, said he supports a two-state solution and that outgoing prime minister affirmed Israel's support for a two-state resolution to the conflict when he addressed the opening session of the 77th Annual United Nations General Assembly back in September. Remember, Yair stood up and said, I want to part the land. I'm going to give half of the country away. Well, you know what the people did when they went to the polls? They voted Yair Lapid and his government out of power, and they put Benjamin Netanyahu and a far right-wing conservative group in power to guarantee that this doesn't happen. The people of Israel have spoken. They do not want anything to do with this two-state solution, period. So much so that they went and got as far right-wingers as they could get. And they brought back Netanyahu, which all the guys in the middle hated. They could care less what the politicians are saying. The people have spoken. King Bibi is their man. And he has got to stand and not agree to this. Now, what they're going to do to Bibi now? Bibi's going to get a ton of pressure. They're going to say to him, you either go along with this arrangement or else we're going to start cutting you off at the knees economically from the European Union and from the Arab nations. And you're going to see it. Nations all over the world are going to start coming against Israel. And folks, then you're right in the middle of prophecy. You're right in the middle of prophecy, which is exactly what the Bible said they are going to do. The Bible said this in Joel chapter 3, verse 1. This is a prophecy alert. For behold, in those days and in that time, when I shall bring again the captivity of Judah and Jerusalem, I will also gather all nations and will bring them down into the valley of Jehoshaphat. That's the Kidron Valley and the valley of Jehoshaphat. And I will plead with them there. I will plead with them there for my people and for my heritage, Israel, whom they have scattered among the nations and parted my land. This tells you God is saying, don't do this. I'm going to plead with you not to do this. But guys, I believe they're going to do this because Jesus really gave us the clue when he said that when you see the tribulation of those days, when you see the sorrows, when you start seeing the sun and the moon, the stars fall, and the stars fall out of the sky, and the signs in the heavens, you start seeing wars and rumors of wars, when you start seeing these apocalyptic events everywhere, Jesus said, wars, rumors of wars, nations rising against nations, kingdom against kingdoms, persecution of Christianity, because of iniquity abound, the love of many will wax cold. And he said, but he that endure to the end, the same shall be saved. Jesus said, when the abomination of desolation, spoken of by Daniel the prophet, standing in the holy place, okay? Then he said, you better not even come down off the housetop. You better not even go back into your house and get your clothes. You better flee. You better run. It's saying to the Israelis, you better flee toward Petra, toward the mountains. And woe to you if it's in the wintertime, and woe to the mothers that are nursing their children and having small children, because it's going to be a time like never before. And I'm already seeing anti-Semitic statements in the chat room right now. You guys don't believe this, but the whole world. What I mean by that, it's not every person in the world, but it means that the nations of the world will turn on Israel. And we're starting to see it. And then they're going to say to Israel, peace and security, which we just read it. They're going to say, if you'll do this, then peace and safety will come. But the Bible says when they say that peace and safety will come, sudden destruction will come. And that's in the Bible. And even says in the book of Zechariah, if you believe in prophecy of the Old Testament, in which it says that this is Zechariah 12, it says, the burden of the word of the Lord for Israel, saith the Lord, which stretches forth the heavens and lays the foundation of the earth, who formed the spirit of man within him. This is God speaking, in other words. Behold, I will make Jerusalem a cup of trembling unto all the people round about, when they shall be in the siege, both in Judah and in Jerusalem. In other words, the West Bank and in the city of Jerusalem, which is exactly what these guys want to do if you try to force them to go back to the pre-1967 borders. Dividing the land and dividing the city of Jerusalem. God says that it's going to get ugly. In that day, will I make Jerusalem a burdensome stone for all people. All that burden themselves with it shall be cut in pieces, though all the people of the earth be gathered together against it. You want to bring a curse on the land? Come against Israel. But they're going to do it. And so this is the time we're living in. This is what's you're seeing it again. They're back again and again. But this time, the United Nations, who voted 197-0 to confirm that Israel is a nation, is now voting 154-9 to hold a peace summit in, of all places, Moscow, in the middle of a war between the Russians and the Ukrainians. And then you have the European Union this month saying that Israel must part the land. And they're saying to Netanyahu, you must affirm this. You must do this. Folks, we're absolutely living in the last days. So let's sing a song called Rattle. That's Ezekiel 37. When they tried to destroy the nation of Israel, God said, I will take the dry bones and I will shake them and I will make them stand up and I will restore the house of Israel. Saturday was silent, and surely it was through. Since when has impossible ever stopped you? And Friday's disappointment is Sunday's empty tomb. Since when has impossible ever stopped you? This is the sound of a dry bones rattling. This is the praise make a dead man walk again. Open the grave, I'm coming out. I'm gonna live again. This is the sound of dry bones rattling.
Pentecostal fire, stirring something new. You're not gonna run out of miracles anytime soon. Your resurrection power, it runs in my veins too. I believe there's another miracle here in this room. This is the sound of dry bones rattling. This is the praise, make a dead man walk again. Open the grave, I'm coming out. I'm gonna live again. This is the sound of dry bones rattling. My God is able to save and deliver and heal and restore anything that He wants to. Just ask the man who was thrown on the bones of Elisha if there's anything that He can do. Just ask the stone that was rolled at the tomb in the garden what happens when God says to move. I feel Him moving it now. I feel Him doing it now. I feel Him doing it now. Do it now. Do it now. This is the sound of dry bones rattling. Yeah, this is the praise, make a dead man walk again. Open the grave, I'm coming out. I'm gonna live again. Open the grave, I'm coming out. I'm gonna live again. Open the grave, I'm coming out. I'm gonna live again. This is the sound of dry bones rattling.
Don't touch the apple of God's eye. Are you serious? The prophecy is here. Son of man, these bones are the whole house of Israel. Prophesy and say to them, thus saith the Lord God, behold, my people, I will open your graves and cause you to come up from your graves and bring you into the land of Israel. Then you shall know that I am the Lord, and I will put my spirit in you, and I will place you in your own land, and you shall live. I will place you in your own land. You shall live, 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 live.
This is the sound of dry
You made a great statement there just before we go here, and that is, glad that Lapid is not in there right now. He would have given it away without a second thought. Exactly. He offered to give it away in September, and he stood at the platform of the United Nations and said he's all for parting the land. But he forgot one thing. When they went to vote on November 1st, the people resoundingly said no to him and voted Benjamin Netanyahu, King Bibi. They put him back in power with a far right-wing conservative government that will never part the land. And besides never part the land, they want to pray on the Temple Mount. They want to stretch it and go way further. They are really, right now, the sides are so far apart. The world on one side and Israel on the other side. It's so far apart right now, it's unbelievable. The scriptures are coming to pass right before our very eyes. While the beast is trying to rise, as the seat of the beast is being established, we are living, folks, in the last days. This is probably one of the most significant biblical situations now setting up that we've had since 1948. And then, of course, that's when Israel was established as a nation. Then 1967, when Israel was attacked by 5 different enemies, and they had to defeat them all, and they defeated them all in 6 days. And now we're coming to this point. We're coming to this point where we're about to see the judgment of God in the valley of Jehoshaphat. Don't miss it tonight. I'll be with Pastor Melvin over at ffctv.info. That broadcast starts. Actually, you need to go to this website, www.ffctv.show. That's www.ffctv.show for tonight's broadcast. It's going to be a great one. See you tonight. Give your life to Jesus Christ, because the last days are here.